Imagine this. The U.S. could invade a NATO ally. Sounds like something from a bad movie, right? But in 2026, that's exactly where we're heading. Former President Trump is now facing resistance, not just from Democrats, but from Republicans too. Here's the twist. The very party that once stood by him is now trying to stop him from destroying one of the most powerful alliances in the world. And it's not just about Greenland. This is about the future of global security, and it's all falling apart. Want to know what's really going on behind the scenes? Stick with me. This story is about to take a shocking turn. So, what's actually happening here? Trump is pushing hard to take military action against Greenland, part of NATO, and an ally. But here's the problem. He's not getting the backing he expects. Republicans are jumping ship, joining Democrats in an effort to stop him. This isn't just a one-off issue. This is a sign of something much bigger at play. The threat to NATO isn't just about Greenland. It's about Trump's entire foreign policy, and it's rocking the foundations of one of the most important alliances the world has ever seen. And here's the burning question. If Republicans, who have backed Trump through thick and thin, are turning against him now, what does that mean for his power moving forward? What does it mean for NATO and global security? Stay with me, because the real twist is coming, and it changes everything. Let's talk about the facts. There's now a bill in Congress called the Stop the Funding of the NATO Invasion Act. Yes, that's a real thing, a bipartisan effort to stop Trump from using federal funds to take military action against Greenland. And this is where it gets interesting. Republican Don Bacon, who helped introduce this bill, isn't just acting on principle. His district, well, they're not happy about the idea of going to war with NATO. A shocking move, considering how Trump has always had the full support of the GOP. But notice what's missing here. We're not talking about Trump's plans to invade Greenland. We're talking about stopping the money. Because without funding, the war effort crumbles. This bill isn't just symbolic. It's a tactical move designed to cut off Trump's power at its core. Now think about it. If Congress passes this, Trump won't even be able to go to war without breaking the law. This could very well be the first real check on his authority in years. And if it works, this strategy could set a new precedent for stopping his military moves in the future. As if that wasn't enough, the situation is rapidly escalating. This isn't just about Greenland anymore. It's a symptom of something much bigger, a long-term strategy by Trump to dismantle NATO itself. Something you'd never expect, not from the leader of the free world, especially in 2026. But here's where things get really concerning. NATO has been the cornerstone of global stability since World War II. And Trump? He's been systematically shaking that foundation, step by step, throughout his administration. What's even more alarming is how this move, this attempt to attack Greenland, fits into a much larger pattern. It's no longer just about personal ambition. It's about rewriting the rules of global diplomacy. The idea that one country can unilaterally threaten an ally is dangerous, and it sets a precedent that even Russia or China would take advantage of. What happens when alliances that have held for decades begin to crumble? The entire global security structure could collapse, and that's the terrifying reality we're facing right now. But the proof keeps piling up. We're not just talking about bills and debates here. The Pentagon is now involved. There's a growing concern that military officers might be asked to carry out orders to invade Greenland. And that's where things get even darker. The bill I mentioned earlier doesn't just cut off funding, it specifically targets military officers. If they follow orders to invade Greenland, it would be classified as an unlawful order. That's the kind of drastic move that shows just how far this has gone. Congress isn't just worried about the money, they're worried about the actions of military leaders being used to bypass democratic oversight. And here's where this changes everything. If military officers can't carry out these orders, it means the whole military infrastructure could start falling apart. Think about it. What happens when orders that should never be given are stopped dead in their tracks? This could be the moment when checks and balances finally start to work against Trump, but it doesn't stop there. Let's break this down further. The pressure is mounting, and multiple crises are stacking up. First, we have the introduction of the bipartisan bill, which shows that even those in Trump's own party are realizing the threat. Then you have the Pentagon warning about unlawful orders, which directly challenges Trump's ability to execute his plans. And let's not forget the growing public backlash. As more people realize what's happening, the outcry is becoming impossible to ignore. Military officers, Congress, even NATO allies, they're all pushing back. What happens when an administration has this many walls closing in on it? If this continues, it's only a matter of time before Trump's foreign policy agenda unravels completely. The question now isn't just whether he can push through these plans, it's whether the system itself will hold up long enough to stop him. Now let's shift focus for a moment. This isn't just about politics or military strategy. This is about real people. Ordinary people who could be caught in the fallout of a geopolitical disaster. Imagine living in Denmark or Greenland right now. These nations are part of NATO, and suddenly they're being threatened by the U.S. The lives of ordinary citizens, families, businesses, workers are being upended by decisions made thousands of miles away. The stakes aren't just strategic. They're personal. If this conflict escalates, it won't just be about political leaders. It will affect the people who didn't sign up for any of this. It could destabilize economies, disrupt daily life, and cause fear and uncertainty for millions. If this feels familiar, say so in the comments. These kinds of tensions are not just abstract issues. They're things that have real consequences for people on the ground. But let's go deeper than the outrage. What's really happening here isn't just about Trump or Greenland. It's about the systems that allow this to happen. Think about the leverage at play here. Trump is using military power as a tool to force allies into submission. It's a strategy built on spectacle and fear, but it's also built on the idea that power can be wielded without consequences. The reality is there's an entire network of checks and balances designed to stop that from happening. And right now, we're seeing those systems strain and fight back. But here's the unsettling part. This isn't just about one rogue leader trying to break the system. It's about a breakdown of trust in the very institutions that have kept global peace for decades. When trust in NATO falters, when the United States threatens its allies, the whole world feels it. And that's the real danger. This is the kind of crisis that doesn't just affect one country. It sends shockwaves through the entire global order. So what happens next? There are two paths forward. First, the bipartisan bill could gain traction, cutting off funding for any military action in Greenland. This would force Trump to back down and shift the conversation entirely. It could mark a turning point, a clear signal that Congress, both Democrats and Republicans, is ready to put limits on presidential power. It could restore some sanity to foreign policy and stabilize NATO in the process. But then there's the other path. What if this resistance fails? What if the bill doesn't pass and Trump goes ahead with his military plans? The consequences would be catastrophic, not just for NATO, but for the global balance of power. Countries might start rethinking their alliances, trust would erode, and the foundation of international relations could collapse. What's clear is that momentum is building in one direction or another, and the next move is already taking shape. The question is, which path will we take? Here's the bottom line. What's happening with Trump's Greenland threat isn't just a political stunt. It's a moment that could change the course of history. This isn't just about a geopolitical clash. It's about how power is used and how fragile our global alliances really are. If this moment defines anything, it's this. The strength of NATO isn't just about military might. It's about trust. And when trust begins to crack, the whole system starts to fall apart. So where do we go from here? That's the real question, because as we've seen, things are escalating, and they're escalating fast. If you want to stay on top of how this story unfolds, don't forget to subscribe and follow. We're just getting started.